Today I want to talk about a question many parents face when their autistic child says no to new experiences. What do I prioritize, support, let go? Maybe your child says no to the birthday party or summer camp or a new activity. As a thoughtful parent, you listen, you try to understand what your child's saying or showing, and you ask yourself, are they telling me this is something they would never enjoy, no matter how much support, preparation, exposure, or experience they had? Or are they showing me that something is still getting in the way right now? That question matters because we don't want to push in a way that fails to respect the child in front of us, but we also don't want to abandon every experience, opportunity, or skill that our child doesn't want right now without looking carefully at what may be underneath the refusal. That's the tension I want to talk about today. If we haven't met yet, I'm Andrea Pollack, parenting educator, coach, and parent of an autistic adult. Let's get into it. I do want to emphasize that I would never suggest that we ignore or disrespect a child's no. Listening to our children's no matters deeply. Our children need to know that their preferences matter, that their communication, comfort, and boundaries matter. So this isn't about forcing our children into activities that they don't want to do or deciding that every no is really a yes waiting to happen. And it's not about assuming that we know better than our child what they should enjoy. It's much more subtle than that, because respecting a no is not the end of the story. We need to understand more about the no. A child may say no because it just doesn't appeal to them, or because the situation feels too unfamiliar, overwhelming, confusing, too unpredictable, or socially demanding, or just too hard to access right now. Both kinds of no deserve respect, but they call for different kinds of support. One of the many challenges in parenting our autistic children is that we really want certainty. They can do it or they can't. They like it or they don't. Is it a skill deficit or a preference? We want clear answers, but most real-life situations don't divide up that neatly. A child may genuinely not enjoy birthday parties right now. That's real. But it also may be true that birthday parties are hard because of noise or social expectations, transitions, unpredictability, or just even the pressure of not knowing what to do. A child may eat only a narrow range of foods right now, and that's real and always may be true. But it also may be true that new foods become more possible when they're offered without pressure, expectation, when the sensory load is reduced, or when the child feels more in control. This is why quick conclusions can be risky, because today's no may not tell us the whole story. I like to make this more clear by comparing it to a skill like reading. If a child says, I don't like reading, I don't want to read, most parents would not say, okay, then let's never read again. We would get curious. Is reading hard? Is the decoding difficult? Maybe the books are boring. We would not assume that we can make the child love reading, but we would also recognize that reading is a life skill. So we would keep looking for ways to make reading more accessible, more successful, and maybe even more enjoyable. I think some of the experiences we're talking about here can work like reading. For example, socializing is hard for many autistic children, right? New environments, group activities, unfamiliar experiences, they can be hard. But navigating people, places, opportunities, and uncertainty are also life skills. Not every child needs to love birthday parties or join clubs, but we want to be careful before we decide that a door is completely closed. I want to talk about the apparent conflict between acceptance and growth. We often think of those two things as opposites. Either we accept our child exactly as they are, or we try to change things. But that's a trap. We can do both at the same time. We can respect who our child is today, exactly as they are, and offer opportunities and supports that might help them open up to new experiences. That requires a careful balance. We want our children to feel deeply loved and accepted, again, exactly as they are, not after they become more flexible or try more foods or become more social. Right now, today, as they are. But that love and acceptance doesn't exclude the offering of opportunities and support to help them expand those interests. In fact, love and acceptance is the necessary foundation for that kind of growth. Because when a child feels respected, accepted, and safe, we're not asking them to change in order to be okay. They already are okay. We're just offering support from a place of belief. We're saying, you're already enough, and I will still help you explore what might become possible. So you don't have to choose between pushing and letting go. We're talking about keeping the door open. So for a birthday party, Keeping the door open might look like watching videos about birthday parties or talking through what happens, role-playing how to say hello or how to join a game, planning what to do if it gets too loud, arriving late, leaving early, going for only 15 minutes, bringing headphones, standing on the outskirts before joining in, having an exit plan, and leaving while still successful. None of that guarantees that the child will eventually enjoy birthday parties. And that's not the point. The goal is not just about getting the child to say yes, that would be nice, but it's not necessary. The goal is avoiding premature conclusions about what's possible while remaining deeply respectful of who the child is. Here's an example of how this played out with my son. An educator I respected highly suggested that he was ready to attend a sleepaway camp and that it would be a great experience for him. He was already 16, so now was the time if he was ever going to do it. Matthew didn't know that summer camp was even a thing. So when I told him about it, his answer was no. Of course it was no. It was unfamiliar, new, outside the routines he trusted, and he spent a lot of energy in his life protecting himself from the world and from new things. If I had taken that first no as the final word on whether camp could ever be meaningful for him, we would have stopped there. And honestly, I was tempted. I wasn't sure I could endure him going away to a summer camp. But we kept exploring. We kept preparing. We kept looking for a way in. He eventually agreed to try it, and fast forward, camp became one of the most important experiences of his childhood. It doesn't mean that every no can become a future yes, but sometimes there's more to learn. And sometimes today's no is just connected to fear, uncertainty, unfamiliarity. And sometimes with enough respect, support, preparation, exposure, they're willing to try new things. I want to suggest another reason why this is important for us to do as parents of autistic children, because unlike many neurotypical kids, many of our kids don't seek out new opportunities on their own. Some do, but for those who reject new experiences, which is what we're talking about here, parents may need to lead the drive. Not every investment has to turn into a lifelong passion, right? Our neurotypical kids, they explore different hobbies and skills that ultimately don't become central to their lives, right? They take music lessons, play tennis, they try dance, they experiment. And when they abandon piano lessons or soccer, it doesn't mean that the time was wasted. Part of childhood is trying things so we can discover what fits. Sometimes it is appropriate to close the door. Some goals can be released. But acceptance doesn't require us to close the door too quickly. There's no formula here, no checklist that helps you distinguish an identity issue from a preference, from a skill gap. Often it's a lot of factors all at once, and to make it more fun, it changes over time. Sometimes no means this is not for me ever or not for me right now. Sometimes no means I need more support, information, or time. We usually don't know which or what combination it is. The goal is to love and accept exactly who your child is today and stay open enough that we don't close the doors that may still have room to open. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing so you get notified of new content that I release every week. I'll see you in the next one.